The papers landed on the kitchen table with a slap that echoed louder than any argument we'd ever had. It read, "Divorce." His signature already scribbled across the bottom, as though 15 years of marriage could be reduced to a line of ink. "You robbed me of a family," he said, his voice flat, almost rehearsed. "I wasted the best years of my life on you. I should have left sooner." His words cut sharper than the papers. I sat there hollow, watching the man who once swore forever now look at me like a thief. We'd tried everything: appointments, treatments, prayers whispered in sterile clinics, month after month of hope curdling into despair. And when the doctors finally said the word infertile, it stuck to me like a curse. He made sure I carried the weight of it. His sighs, his silence, the way he stopped touching me except to place pills in my palm or shove pamphlets across the table. Infertile, barren, broken. That's what he saw when he looked at me. And now, with a cold piece of paper, he made it official. I wasn't enough. But what he didn't know, what he could never imagine, was that I had been pregnant once. I had carried life inside me. I had felt a child kick beneath my ribs. I had given birth. The shame twisted deeper as the memory surfaced, because the child I bore was not his. It was his brother's. And as he stormed out, divorce papers left behind like a verdict, I realized he wasn't just leaving me. He was leaving behind a truth so dark it would shatter him all over again if he ever found it. The divorce papers blurred in my vision, ink bleeding into ink as the past pressed down on me like a weight I could never crawl out from under. His words echoed, "You robbed me of a family," and I almost laughed. If only he knew. I thought back to the years before the papers. The clinics, the needles, the white walls that smelled like bleach and despair. Every cycle was another hope destroyed. Every month ended with tears I swallowed down so he wouldn't see me weak. But he saw me anyway, and instead of holding me, he withdrew. The man I'd married became someone else, short-tempered, cold, a bottle of whiskey always within reach, nights when he came home drunk, staring at me with a bitterness so thick I could barely breathe, as if my womb's failure was a personal betrayal, a choice I made just to spite him. It was during one of those winters, when the silence in our house felt unbearable, that his brother started visiting more often. At first, it was innocent. He'd come by to check on me when my husband stayed out too late, to fix a leaking pipe, to carry groceries when I looked too tired. He was kind in ways my husband had long since forgotten. And kindness is dangerous when you're drowning. One night, after another slammed door and another evening spent alone, his brother stayed longer. We sat at the kitchen table, drinking tea that had gone cold. I cried for the first time in months, really cried, and instead of turning away, he reached across and held my hand. It was small at first, a comfort. But grief and loneliness blur lines. His hand became a touch became a kiss. And suddenly, I was wrapped in the arms of the one man I should never have allowed near me. I told myself it was just one night. A mistake. A secret I would bury so deep it would never see the light. But weeks later, when the sickness began, when my body changed in ways I thought it never could, I realized it wasn't a mistake at all. It was a consequence. I was pregnant. The irony twisted inside me. Years of doctors saying never, years of tears shed over empty cradles, and suddenly my body proved them wrong. Except it wasn't my husband's child. It was his brother's. I couldn't tell him. I couldn't bear to see the rage, the disappointment, the destruction that truth would bring. So I lied. I told him I wasn't ready, that I had considered adoption long before and decided it was the right path. He didn't fight me on it, maybe because by then he was too numb to care. 9 months later, I held a child in my arms, a boy with dark hair and a cry that cut through the sterile hospital room. For a fleeting moment, I thought about keeping him. I thought about rewriting my life in that instant, confessing, starting fresh. But fear is stronger than love when shame is involved. So I signed the papers. I let them take him, told my husband it was adoption, and never spoke of it again. He accepted the story because it suited him, because it let him believe he was still the man who couldn't give me children, instead of the man whose wife had found them elsewhere. And I carried that guilt like a stone in my chest ever since. So when he stood in our kitchen years later, spitting venom and handing me divorce papers, telling me I had stolen a family from him, I wanted to scream. You have no idea what I've stolen. You have no idea what I gave away. But I stayed silent. Because the truth would not only destroy him, it would destroy the fragile lie that had kept his family intact. And yet, as much as I tried to bury it, secrets have a way of clawing back to the surface. The weeks after the divorce felt like walking through glass. Papers signed, rings discarded, his absence heavy in the house. I told myself it was done, that my punishment was to live with the silence and the shame. But rumors have sharp claws, and soon they were scratching at my door. I heard whispers from neighbors, from family friends. His brother was acting strange, more secretive than usual. Skipping family dinners, brushing off questions, avoiding me like I carried a plague. And when I did see him, his eyes wouldn't meet mine. He looked at me like a man who knew too much and was terrified of what I might say. One evening, I stopped by my in-laws' house to collect some things. I wasn't supposed to stay long, just grab a box and go. But as I walked past the den, I heard voices. Low, urgent. His mother, his brother. He's getting older. People will notice, she whispered. The resemblance is too strong. My chest tightened. He's my son, his brother shot back. Mine. I'll handle it. I froze in the hallway, my pulse hammering. I slipped out before they noticed me. But the seed was planted. The child I had given away, the boy I signed away in that hospital room, wasn't lost to the world. He was here, alive, and being raised not by strangers, but by the one man who should have been my husband's greatest ally. I needed proof, so I dug. I rifled through old boxes, slipped into my brother-in-law's garage one afternoon under the excuse of looking for borrowed tools. That's where I found them. Documents stuffed into a folder, birth records, school forms, his name listed as father. I traced the letters with shaking hands, bile rising in my throat. He hadn't just claimed my son, he had built a life around him. Quietly, secretly, while the rest of us spun in our own lies. I carried the knowledge like a burning coal in my chest. I couldn't tell my ex-husband. I couldn't tell anyone. But secrets rot, and this one didn't stay buried. It unraveled at a family barbecue. My ex-husband had shown up, still bitter, still spitting venom whenever my name crossed his lips. His brother arrived late, with the boy. I'll never forget the moment. The child ran across the yard, laughing, his hair catching the sunlight just so. And then he turned, and my ex-husband saw it. He froze. The laughter died. Conversation stalled. Because staring back at him was a face he couldn't mistake. His brother's face, his father's eyes, features that ran through the bloodline. "My God," he whispered, stepping forward. That's my son." Gasps erupted. His mother tried to intervene, but he pushed past her, grabbing his brother by the arm. "You told me I couldn't have children. You told me I'd never—" His voice cracked, wild, desperate. "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me divorce her when I had... His brother shook his head, panic in his eyes. "He's not yours." The silence that followed was brutal. "What do you mean, not mine?" My ex-husband's voice trembled. His brother hesitated, but the truth bled out anyway. "He's mine." The explosion was immediate. Chairs knocked over, plates shattered, their father shouting while their mother wept. My ex-husband lunged, fist connecting with his brother's jaw. The child screamed, clinging to his grandmother as chaos erupted around him. I stood frozen, every muscle locked, my secret exposed without a word from me. He turned on me then, eyes blazing with betrayal so deep it felt like drowning. "You knew." His voice wasn't a question, it was a verdict. Tears burned my eyes. I opened my mouth, but no defense came. He saw it in my silence. The answer he dreaded. "You gave birth," he spat. "You gave birth to his child, and you let me rot believing I was the failure, believing I was broken." His voice broke into a roar. "You made me hate myself when it was you all along." I wanted to scream that it wasn't that simple, that his drinking, his cruelty, his abandonment had driven me into his brother's arms, that I hadn't planned it, hadn't wanted it. But what excuse can cleanse betrayal like that? The family split down the middle. His parents pulled at him, torn between two sons. His mother begged for peace, but his father's face was stone, disgust written in every line. Two brothers, once inseparable, now circling each other like enemies. One with a son he should never have fathered, the other robbed of the one thing he wanted most. And me? I was the match that lit the fire. I had tried to bury the truth to protect him. But the truth has claws. And when it surfaced, it didn't just destroy a marriage, it tore an entire family in half. It didn't take long before he cornered me. The fight at the barbecue had left both brothers bruised, but it left me bleeding in ways no one could see. That night, he showed up at my door, fists clenched, eyes red with fury. "You!" he hissed, standing in the doorway like a shadow ready to consume me. "Tell me the truth. Did you ever love me, or was it always him?" I wanted to lie to save us both from another fracture, but lies had already cost too much. My throat burned as I forced the words out. "I did love you," I whispered. "More than you'll ever believe. I wanted to build a life with you. I wanted children with you. I wanted everything." His eyes narrowed, searching for sincerity, for a flicker of the wife he once knew. "But," I said, voice breaking, "there was a part of me that hated you too." He froze. "You made me feel worthless," I continued, tears spilling freely now. "Every doctor's visit, every failure, you made sure it was carved into me. Barren, broken, useless. You drank, you raged, you left me alone in a house that felt like a tomb. And then your brother..." He looked at me and saw a woman. Not a failure, not a curse, just a woman. He staggered back as if I'd struck him. "It wasn't just weakness," I said, voice trembling. "It was rage, revenge. For every night you chose a bottle over me. For every time you reminded me that I couldn't give you a family, I wanted to hurt you back. And I did, in the worst way possible." His face collapsed then. Not just anger, but devastation. Grief tangled with disgust. He shook his head, muttering, "You destroyed me. You destroyed everything." And maybe I had. But as I stood in the wreckage of our marriage, I knew I wasn't the only one holding the match. In the weeks that followed, the dust never really settled. The divorce was final, but the fallout rippled through every branch of the family. Two brothers who once shared everything now couldn't be in the same room without blood boiling. Parents who once dreamed of grandchildren now whispered about shame behind closed doors. And a child, innocent, blameless, would grow up carrying a truth too heavy for small shoulders. As for me, I lost more than a husband. I lost the illusion of being the loyal wife, the victim of cruel fate. In reality, I had been both victim and executioner. I let rage guide me into betrayal, and then let fear bury the evidence. I told myself I was protecting him from pain. But the truth is, I was protecting myself from exposure. Secrets don't disappear. They just wait for the worst moment to surface. Now, when I lie awake at night, I replay every choice, every silence, every time I looked away from the truth. He divorced me for being empty. But the truth was, I'd been full of secrets all along. Sometimes the child you hide doesn't just cost you love, it costs you a family.